Oh, come on. And we're live. Hello, who's here? Let's post that. Hello, Applehead. How's it going? Yes, I was just posting to Instagram there. G'day, Jason. Good to see 2 people. Oh, we've apparently got 4 people. Wow, it's the best start we've had to a live stream in a while. 5 now. Woohoo. Oh, down to 4. Well, good evening, Western Victorian Railways. How are you doing? Ah, it's a nice night. Who enjoyed the warm weather in Victoria yesterday? I did. And the trip to Tokemore was nice for the one person, or yeah, there was a few people who were waiting. If anyone saw the thumbnail either on Instagram or just before we went live, that was from my recent trip to Tokemore last Saturday. Yeah, it hasn't even been a week. So, yes, that transitions perfectly into the topic, but I will first start with general updates. I don't think that I will be able to get a video out on Sunday morning because I've got a lot of work due. And g'day, Albert. Yeah, don't think I'll get it out Sunday morning, but I'll try for Monday morning. I've got a big thing due on Saturday night, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go. But yeah, that's cool. Is that the only update? I think it is. We'll be getting into Queensland Rail Part 3, hopefully Monday morning. Anyway, so Applehead has been doing heaps of filming in South Australia. That's cool. South Australia is a place that I've been to a few times, and I have taken a few photos and videos there, but I haven't done any major videos there, I don't think, no. But I would love to sometime. There's lots of railway stuff in South Australia. So yeah. So heritage trains and tours and all that jazz. Yeah, I love a heritage tour. I love a good heritage tour. I don't know how many I've been on. This year I haven't been on all that many, mainly because I just don't have the chance with uni and stuff. Kind of sucks, but hey, what do you do? G'day, LG. Never say whatever rail. Oh, we've got 8 people here. G'day, Steve. This is exciting. So, one thing I want to put out to everyone while we're here is, would you prefer live streams every 2 weeks or every week? Which do you think would be better? Because I could do either. I could do every week and miss the occasional week, or I could do every 2 weeks and get them almost all the time. What would you prefer? What is good? You can say just every 2 weeks is good. I'm happy with that. But yeah, and appreciate any sort of feedback, and I'll probably do a poll on Instagram as well. On the topic of rail tours, did you see the 707 post 707 I was put out the other day? Yeah, the one with their 2020 tours. Yeah, that's very ambitious. Nice to see that they plan to do a return of the Grainlander. it would be if they do it next year, that'll be their 4th Greenlander tour. I went on their first one, which was meant to be their last, because Witcherproof and stuff were meant to be gauge converted, but then, then we saw that it was going to be extended a bit, and they ran a second one. I saw that one off, but I couldn't actually travel on it. And then they did one quite recently, where the name Greenlander came from, and that was with the steam engine. And unfortunately, I didn't really get the chance to chase that or go on that. But yeah. Going to Darwin, hey? 707 Operations wants to go to Darwin. And I mean, that's ambitious. If you can pull it off, then big props. We haven't really had any major, like, transcontinental tours from any rail company, any tourist operator or anything for a number of years. So I'd absolutely say go for it. I doubt I'll be able to afford it. I expect, SRHC wants to go to Perth. Not since 1988, says Albert, so there you go. Well, there has never been a tour to Darwin, ever. Because the line was only completed in like 2004, 2005. And so there's never been a heritage tour up that way. There is the GAN, yes. And the GAN costs about $4,000. And the GAN is pretty much a hotel on wheels. A cruise ship, I should say. It's a cruise ship on wheels. And yeah, I don't know if 707 will be charging, I suspect at least as much as the GAN they'll charge, if not more. Yeah. The GAN was cancelled on Wednesday. Why was it cancelled? But yeah, the Southern Rail, Great Southern Rail, what they call now, Journey Beyond Rail. Some of you rail fans will have seen the recent post by them showing their new Great Southern locomotive, formerly Southern Spirit, yes. Formerly the green and white Southern Spirit locomotive. So that'll be interesting. I might film that. I mean, it comes to Melbourne, so why not? Okay. Yes, $4,000 is a lot of money to pay for a train, and yeah, we'll see how much 707 want to charge. I suspect they'll allow people to go just one way, like Melbourne to Darwin, or vice versa. But I suspect that they'll run it both ways, because I don't see why you wouldn't. If you've got to move the train anyway, then why not do it in both directions, right? And some people will want to do the whole thing. There are some rich rail fans out there, don't get me wrong. But yeah, so in terms of rail tours, I know we've got a lot of rail fans on here. But for those who aren't so familiar with it, I'll give you a bit of an introduction. There's mainly, I'd say, three main types of tours, maybe four. The first and the most common is just the day trip. They are usually in the $100-ish range for a ticket. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on how far they go. But it's always you're pretty much designed to go for the whole, buy a ticket for the whole trip. It's a return trip, and you go to a country destination and stay there for a couple of hours. You get to explore the town, go to the pub, have some lunch, and then you return in the evening. The longest day trip I've ever been on was the steam rail trip to Wycheproof, the farewell steam to Wycheproof, which 707 went then. But it was still fun. That was still a fun trip. And I went with a few people like my mum and my grandpa. So mum doesn't usually come, but grandpa has been on a few tours with me, but unfortunately he passed away earlier in the year. But yeah, so that's a nice memory that I'll have with him. Western Victorian Railways said, well, you also may have heard R766 had its boiler test the other day. One would hope or dream that maybe 766 can make it up to Darwin. It would be something interesting to see Vic Loco make it that far. Absolutely, I thought the same thing. Have you done this challenge where you must stop at every station in Melbourne? No, I've tried every line in a day and I don't think I've done that. So I don't know how you can do every station. I mean, it's obviously possible, but yeah. So tours, day trips, they're probably the best bang for your buck, I'd say, in terms of tours. I mean, it's hard to put a value on that sort of thing, but you get a full day on the train and, yeah, obviously that can be split into the two, well, all tours really can be split into the subcategories of diesel or steam. I count a combo as a steam. They can both are good. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. Steam tours tend to be more expensive because coal is expensive, and plus you have more specially qualified crew. So that's that. That's steam tours. Obviously, you get all the romance of steam, the sights, the smells, the sounds. Steam tours are great. I love steam tours, but they can only be run in part of the year, obviously, because when it's total fire ban, well, you can't run a steam engine, can you? So, yeah. Sydney also does all-day heritage electric tours. Yes, that is true. I can't really speak to them because I've never done one, but yeah, I'm sure it would be good. Diesel, another thing with steam tours is that if you stick your head out of the window, you're almost guaranteed, in fact, you are guaranteed to get coal particles in your eyes and in your hair. Unless you're wearing something like goggles that stick to your face. I've tried wearing like sunglasses, they don't work. The coal dust goes and into your eyes. So if you're going on a steam tour, just you got to limit the amount that you stick your head out the window. Or you can do what I do and just use the camera as your shield and sort of, you go like that. And then, this eye is closed, but this eye is open, but looking through the viewfinder, right? So that's a little trick that works for the most part. It's not perfect, but you can do. Does Puffing Billy do steam tours in the summer? Yes, apart from in days of total fire ban. They can't do any total fireman steam days. They switch to diesel then. What do I think of the Sydney Light Rail going through the heart of the city? I like it. But continuing on with tours, so diesel, they've got sound, but it's a different sound. It's the sound of a big diesel engine, and you learn to love that, like steam engines as well. But it's something different, and there are some people who like one or the other more. I don't really have a preference, to be honest. G'day, James. Yeah, I don't really have a preference. They both have their place. They're both good. If you've got one of the carriages like Yarra or State Car 4 or Tambo is the one that everyone forgets with end platforms, they are good they're better on diesel tours because they don't get so much showered. You don't get showered as much in coal dust. If you're at one of the front platforms, like if the platform is at the front of the train and the steam locomotive's right in front of it, I went on a 70. Actually, it was it 707 or was it Seymour? It was a Seymour tour with 707 was the steam locomotive, and my God, did you get showered in coal dust if you went out onto the balcony then. So yeah, the balconies are awesome. They're absolutely awesome. If you haven't experienced going out on a balcony on a moving train, oh my God, you need to go do it. It's just so good. I love it. And now that Seymour has a second carriage that they have a balcony on, then they're quite nice. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much they use State Car 4 on future tours. Evening, Patrick. And so, yeah, you generally also have a choice of carriages between a steel carriage or a diesel carriage. What am I talking about? A wooden carriage or a steel carriage. Pros and cons. Well, a wooden carriage, you can stick your head out the window. Yeah, it's just, it's very old style if you like that sort of thing. But they can get very hot in the summer or very cold in the winter because there's no heating or air conditioning. That's where steel carriages come in. They are heated and air conditioned, but the cons are you can't stick your head out the window. And steel carriages are generally, the seats themselves are more comfortable. But yeah, and steel carriages have the con that if the aircon does break down in the summer, they can be an absolute oven. And you can't open the windows. So that's the one time where you would want opening windows. New South Wales doesn't allow travelling on outside balconies on trains, sadly. Oh, damn. Well, you've got to come to Victoria and travel on State Car 4 or Yarra or Tambo for that matter. I believe Tambo is rated for the main line, but it's usually found on the VGR. The Victorian Goldfields Railway, Castlemaine Malden. And what else? Yeah, day tours is the one main category that I mentioned. The next category are weekender trains, otherwise known as sleeper trains. They are where you get to be on the train for a few days, and you even get to sleep on the train in seats that convert into beds. And we're not talking lay flat airline seating, unless you're travelling on the Spirit of Queensland, but that's not a heritage train, is it? We're talking proper, like, fold down beds. Like, you've got the seat like that, and then it folds down, and that's your bed there. So yeah, you can get either a single room, which are generally quite small, but hey, it's only you, or you can get a double room, which are a lot bigger, and you often get a dedicated bathroom, like toilet shower combo as well as part of your cabin, rather than having it shared with a single cabin. But if you're on your own, well, you've got to sleep with some stranger. And so that's obviously not ideal for everyone. They're generally about the same price in terms of a per bed. So often if you're travelling with a friend, you'll go with the twinette, as they call it, or if you're on your own, you go in a roomette. Personally, I've slept in both, but only with one person. I managed to score a twinette bed one night when it was actually on the original Grandlander. They called it the Farewell Sea Lake Broad Gauge train. But yeah, they were sitting in witchproof for the night, and I had the choice of, I could have just slept in my car, but I decided to instead propose to 707. I said, hey, if I donate $50 to 707 Operations, can I sleep in one of the spare beds? And they said, yeah, sounds like a deal. So we shook hands, and I slept in the train for the night. And they said, look, as long as you're willing to be woken up fairly early, because we're leaving fairly early, we'll wake you up in the morning and just make sure that you're off the train. And yeah, so that was fun. $50, probably the best $50 I've spent on a heritage tour, I reckon. I mean, considering it was like $800 or $900 if you wanted to go for the full time, I'd say that's pretty good. That's the main disadvantage of weekender trains, is that they're very expensive, usually in the sort of $800 to $1,000 range for a ticket. Yeah, people can complain about the price of heritage tours in general, but really they are made as cheap as they can be. The operators have got to pull a profit, and they're quite expensive to run. Like, one night I was in Malden, and I actually wasn't in Malden, I was in Castlemaine. Anyway, there was a heritage tour leaving from Castlemaine the next morning, and I was having a chat to one of the guys who was in charge of putting on this tour from SteamRail, and I asked him, how much does it cost to actually put on a tour like this? And he said, yeah, look, people don't realise how expensive it is. It costs, our expenses are roughly $50,000 in crew costs, because you've got to pay qualified drivers to drive the train, and you've got to pay a V-line conductor to be on the train as well. At least that's how it works in Victoria. And yeah, so 50 grand in crew costs, about 50 grand in fuel costs. In this case, it was fuel oil for the steam locomotive, and water for the steam locomotive and carriages. And everything like that. All fuel expenses, all the generators, 50 grand in fuel, 50 grand in crew, and is it about 50 grand in other expenses? So $150,000 to put on a train like that. It's a lot of money. And so you can sort of understand why tickets for a day trip would go around the $100 per person mark, because, you know, you've got to make up all of that cost and still come out ahead, so that you've got money left over for things like maintenance of the locomotives, restoring new locos, the carriages. Yeah. If you can spare the time and you're prepared to volunteer and work up a sweat as a passenger attendant, you can travel for free on more heritage trains than you could ever want. Absolutely. Pretty much all heritage companies, I think that 707 might be the exception to this rule. They just get volunteer discounts, but most heritage operators will say, yeah, if you want to volunteer to be a passenger attendant and you want to work for your ticket, essentially, then you don't have to pay anything. And so that can be a very cost-effective way of, traveling on a lot of heritage tours. I'd like to do that at some stage, but I just can't volunteer that much with, trains. So, I mean, I don't go on that many heritage tours, so maybe in the future I'll do that. But it does come with the disadvantage of, one of the great things about heritage tours in general are that you can, you're traveling with friends more often than not, especially on the day tours. I'm always with at least one other person that I know. I'm trying to think whether I have always been on them with somebody that I know. Surely not, but yeah, it's been so long. I've made so many friends in the railway community that, I think I have done a few tours on my own, but anyway. Carriages. You'll find different carriages with different operators, right? So in Victoria, we've got 3 main heritage operators. We've got Steamrail, 707 operations, and Seymour, otherwise known as SRHC. They each have a different sort of philosophy in their tours. Which is the best? I'd say 707. I reckon they run the best tours overall. But that's up for debate, of course. Steamrail are very much, they run tours for the public and mainly for the public only. They do a few railfan tours, railfan orientated tours every now and then, but they don't do too many. They mainly do the same sort of tours each and every year because they know they work, and Steamrail has found great success with that. They definitely run the most tours by far from any heritage operator, and they've got one out almost every weekend. And I'd say between the 3 operators, there's a heritage tour out pretty much every weekend. At a minimum, 3 out of 4 weeks in a month. But yeah, 707 tend to operate the biggest variety of tours. And they have a bit more variety of carriages, but they don't have any real wooden carriages. They've got one, and that's a sleeping car. So that's something to take into consideration with 707. But they do have a steam locomotive, so that's cool. And they have very nice sleeping tours. They've got a good variety of sleeping carriages. Seymour tend to not run any weekender trains, but they do put on great day tours. They've got the biggest variety of carriages, and they've got a lot of really special carriages. Like the Tocumwell tour, we had Yarra, State Car 5, State Car 4. And so, yeah, they're all really special carriages. And that's why you travel with Seymour, is to get the special carriages. Western Victorian Railway says best rail tour he's done was the West Coaster, although I only went on the return trip from Warrnambool to Geelong. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The West Coaster, eh? The third real type of heritage tour is the shuttles. They are often the most popular with the general public, and it's where the train will travel to a certain area and then do shuttles throughout the day between them. So, you know, like I did one which was a free public one, where we went on the new section of Skyrail back and forth. So that's cool. Yes, there is also DermPav. I almost forgot them. They're very specialised, though. They obviously only run a DERM, which is, for those who are unaware, diesel electric rail motor. Basically, single carriage, self-propelled thing. I've never actually been on a DermPav tour, but I would like to in the future. Again, they tend to operate the same sort of tours all the time, and it just works for them. And fine. Do what works. Weekender trains are a relatively new thing for 707, but I think that they're finding a nice niche with them, and I absolutely encourage them to continue with that into the future. Yeah, and so when there's special carriages on board, it can be really nice because I'd say for most of the time you aren't actually in your allocated seat. At least I'm not. Most of the time I'm sitting in one of the special carriages or taking photos in one of the special carriages. So yeah, I love day tours for that. You get a great variety and you get to go out to various places, but shuttles can be good as well for just a short trip that's relatively cheap. Like, you can often get shuttle tickets for like $15, $20. And sometimes I'll go, hey, it's $20. Let's go out for a day and go on a tour, go on one of the shuttles and then maybe take some photos of the others. So, yeah, it's all things to consider. And I guess it also brings up the sort of point that not everyone actually does like to travel on them. It's a very popular sport, if you can call it that, to chase trains, chase the heritage tours. And for those of you who are outside the rail fan community and you like to know what chasing trains involves, you get in your car, you gather up a bunch of mates, and you've all got cameras, and you try to beat the train to various points along the way, right? Oh, James, hello. Catching a live stream. Yeah, hello. Good to see you. So yeah, chasing the train, you try to beat it to certain points. Most commonly is a level crossing, because obviously that's pretty easy, but it can often also be just various random points trackside that happen to have a good view or something like that. And yeah, depending on how slow the train is going and where it's going, it can be more or less difficult to chase it. If the train's got wooden carriages on board, in Victoria, it's limited to 80 k's an hour. So that can work in your favour if you're trying to chase it in the country, because obviously in a car you can usually go 100. Why do people chase the train as opposed to go on it? Or I don't chase trains that often, so why do I go on the train instead of chasing it? Well, chasing it is usually less expensive than going on it. So it's really, that's what I'd say is the main thing. And a lot of people just like to get the photos, like to get the coverage. And yeah. But my thing with train chases is they all sort of, it's as if everyone is sort of converged into a single style, right? If you've ever watched any of like the train chaser videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're all sort of the same, which is like, and in a single cut. Oh, sorry about that with the internet. Cut out a little bit. I don't know why, it just did. But so yeah, very long zoomed in shot. And then single cut, zooming out slowly until the train passes you. And then you repeat that for every single level crossing or place that you go to. And it just gets a bit boring in my opinion. It's like, mix it up a bit, you know? Maybe you have a shot of it, you know, a static shot like that, and the train passes by. Maybe you have a few of those long zoom in shots. Just mix it up a bit. And they tend to, the people who get photos, they tend to just get the same sort of front three quarters and photo, and it's just sort of all looks the same. Look, front three quarters, I'm guilty of it myself. I mean, hello, look at the thumbnail. But it's not like I capture only front three quarters shots. I get more than just that. I get front three quarters, and I also get front on, maybe side on, back on, all kinds. I get interiors, you know, so you got to mix it up. I'm one of the only rail fans that I know that uses a wide angle lens. They're so helpful for getting good photos inside. So I don't know why more people don't use them. Telephoto lenses are great, but they have their place. Try and mix it up a bit. Western Victoria Noah says, I've also been on a few Diamond Valley Railway charters, one to Seymour behind D3639 and another to Castlemaine behind A2986 and K190. Yeah, charters can be good. And the Castlemaine trip was the first time the A2 had been there in over 60 years. Yeah, that's cool. When the original A2 returned to steam, that was a nice tour. Yeah, well, I just went from Warragul to Traralgon on that one, but yeah. What else about heritage trains? Yeah, so well, I guess I'll talk about why would I, if chasing them is a lot cheaper, then why would you go on one? Well, you go on one because there's nothing quite like actually being on it, and you get all the feeling, you get to see all the inside of the carriages. It's relaxing. You just don't have to worry about anything. Some people like to do deals with their mates where, like, they'll travel for part of the way or just one way and then swap. I've considered doing that a few times, but I don't think I've actually done it. What I have done is, this is a good point, weekender tours will often give you the option of a day trip as well. So it's like, for example, the Greenlander, which is Melbourne to Sea Lake, they'll often offer a day trip from Charlton or Witchproof to Sea Lake and return in the day. And so that's good if you can only afford the day trip. But the downside is obviously you've got to get out there in the first place. So you've got to consider not only the ticket cost of the day trip, but the actual fuel costs to get out there as well. I've done that a few times where I've gone for the day trip on the weekender trains, and that's fun. You get a bit of like camping and also the travelling on the day trip. So yeah, and if you've got a mate on board that is actually sleeping on board, then you can get to check out what one of the sleeping cabins is like as well. But yeah, Albert says there's another variety of heritage trains which Victoria is particularly good at. The shuttle on dedicated former railway lines. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Branch lines, as in like just freight only lines that used to be passenger lines, i.e. the Goldfields Railway. All right, so like here, like tourist railways, but out in the country, like that sort of thing. Yes, brilliant. Yeah. While I wouldn't consider them heritage tours because they're more of a regular basis thing, like on a weekly basis or something like that. But yes, there are a number of very good tourist railways out there which have a lot of the same appeal, right? That they are, you know, it's got the heritage aspect of it, but is there any time? And they're often cheaper than the mainline tours because they don't have as many expenses because they can like have volunteer drivers. They don't have to pay track access fees or anything like that. So yeah, there are a few. There's a few. I guess I'll talk about the various tourist railways. Everyone knows Puffing Billy, right? Pros and cons of Puffing Billy. Well, it's close to Melbourne. You get steam. You get the narrow gauge experience, which was a very niche Victorian railways thing. And there is the Walhalla Railway, which is narrow gauge as well. And they used to run the same locomotives as Puffing Billy, but then Puffing Billy got very big and Walhalla is still kind of small. And so all of the Puffing Billy NA class locomotives end up at Puffing Billy. Even though I think Walhalla deserves at least one. But yeah, the Puffing Billy is good, but it's very popular. It's about the middle. It's about a middle tier price range, but it's probably the best if you want. If you are from interstate and you've only got, say, a couple of days in Victoria and you want to experience historic Victorian Railway stuff, and there aren't any heritage tours on when you're staying, then I'd say Puffing Billy is definitely something good to consider because it's close to Melbourne and you get that sort of stuff. Also consider Mornington. They do broad gauge, harder to get to, but they've got steam, and yeah, I've travelled on them once. I actually got I travelled on their thingo for free because I made a video walking along their line, and thank you to, what's his name? I can't remember. You know who you are, though. I don't think he's watching. But yeah, this guy who works there was like, "Oh, I saw your videos, and yeah, come, I'll give you a tour of our yard, and yeah, we'll show you around and stuff." And yeah, I mean, that was my last video for Fogarty Avenue, wasn't it? The Mornington Railway. But yeah, it's funny because I also walked the Healesville line, but they had a very different reaction to Mornington. Healesville told us to take down the video and basically don't do it again. But yeah, if you've got the chance and you've got a few days, try and make it up to Castlemaine to go on the Victorian Goldfields Railway. That's great if you want the old branch line experience. They run steam. They've got a few nice carriages. It's a nice line, all round positive things to say. They're reasonably priced. I don't really have anything negative to say about the VGR. I've driven a steam locomotive on there. That was cool. Yeah. Western Victorian Railway says, so do you think that rail tours were better in the past, like the Millennial Aurora in 2000, where 3801 and 3830 came down to Melbourne from Sydney, then went to Horsham and Portland? Look, there has been a few very good tours in the past that I don't think are necessarily possible anymore. But if you actually look at the frequency of those sort of tours, you'll find that they weren't that frequent anyway. And so I think that a lot of them are still possible, like, well, 707's trip to Darwin. You know, that's along the same sort of lines. A really big, ambitious trip. Yeah, once in a lifetime tours. Victorian Transport Spotter says the people at Healesville are not nice. My grandmother volunteered for their ghost train to dress up as a witch. They wouldn't give her a bottle of water and didn't say thank you once. Yeah, well, I guess it shows you. I don't know. And yeah, probably one of the hardest to get to. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'd definitely love to. But they're very specialised. Is the Daylesford Railway. Their speciality is rail motors, right? They don't run any steam locomotives at all. They don't run any locomotives at all, not for their passenger trains at least. I think they run a Y class for their maintenance trains, but passenger trains, they just run rail motors. So little self-propelled things. They've got a couple of good old derms. and they've got a couple of walkers and even a DRC, diesel rail car. So that's cool. And as much as nobody in the railfan community really likes velocities these days, I'm sure they will in 30, 50 years when they are on the Daylesford Railway, because walkers were the old equivalent to velocities, I'm telling you. But everyone likes a walker. Daylesford Spa Country Railway is really good. They're a really good bunch of people there as well. Yeah, that's cool. I'll ask them one day if I can walk their line and see what their answer is. Because it's a beautiful place, Daylesford. Oh, really nice. Probably the most, in fact, there is one really remote, really, really remote to a tourist railway, which is the Redcliffs one up near Mildura. I've been on that once. It's very short, but it's the only place in Victoria, at least, that you can experience steam on really narrow gauge, right? So, yeah. I mean, they've got like 2 foot gauge, 2'6", I don't know, I forget. But it's the usual like cane railway, bush tramway gauge. Hillsville, like everything, depends who you meet. I've been there after closing time, and a guy working there still showed me around, opened up the toilets for me, which he'd locked up, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it does depend who you meet. There's a 2 foot railway in Alexandria as well, but it's only small. Yeah, but do they run steam? I don't think so. Or at least not like a big steam. They might run like scale steam. But I'm not sure about the Alexandria one. There's the Kerrisdale Mountain Tramway as well. I haven't been there, but that's it. Okay, they do once a month. Huh, okay. And what sort of size is it? Like, is it a proper thing that you might find on an old cane railway or bush tramway? Or is it more so scaled steam? That's what I want to know. I guess I'll finish off with, what do I look out for in a heritage tour? Because obviously, so Timmy Trout. Okay, cool. So what do I look out for in a tour, right? Because there's a tour on almost every weekend, and yeah, so I don't go on everyone. What ones would I go on? Well, if you haven't been on many tours at all, I'd just look for ones that are anyone that is going on a line that you haven't travelled on, whether or not it's available as a normal V line trip or not. I mean, maybe you can choose to skip them and just do it on a V line because it's cheaper. But yeah, I would recommend going on them if you're a rail fan and you're just starting out. That's sort of what I did, and I just got the track experience up. And I'd also recommend going on a few different companies, like go on Steamrail, go on 707, Seymour, maybe even Derm, and just have a look and see, what do you think is which ones do you like? What do you like and what do you not like? And yeah, you can, if there's any like if there's any tour that comes up that sounds really special, like a triple header, for example, or parallel run, do your best to go on it. And seriously, just talk to everyone, make friends, because I can't tell you how many times friends have helped me out by paying for my ticket in advance to go on these tours, even if I didn't pay them back. But they'd always say, like, look, do your best to earn enough money before the tour, and just pay me back what you can on the day. If you can't afford anything, then no worries. If you can afford something, then give us what you can. So I've been really, really appreciative of friends who've done that to me in the past. And yeah, that's why you make friends. That's why you talk to people, especially don't just talk to people in your own age group. Do that, make friends within your own age group, but also make friends outside of your age group, because often they're the ones who can help you with that sort of thing. But obviously I'm not saying, be friends with them only for that. That'd be silly, but no. Yeah, and if you ask those people, like, well, why are you doing this? Why are you paying for me when I can't pay myself? And they usually say something like, well, people did it for me and I was really appreciative of it, and so I'll do it for you. And I think that's really great. I love that philosophy of not expecting anything in return and just doing it because somebody else did it to you and you appreciated it. So you're going to continue on the tradition, right? So, yeah. I think that's really good. And going back to what I was saying before, what do I look out for? I just look out for something that is new to me. Yes, pay it forward is the terminology for it. I look out for something that's new for me, for the most part. So, like my recent trip to Tokyo, I'd been to Tokyo before, I'd been hauled by a B class before, I'd been hauled by a T class before, I'd been on the balconies before. What I hadn't been on was the state cars, and so it was very nice to be able to go into the state cars, experience what that was like, take photos in there, and yeah, I always love that, to do something new. But at the same time, you might choose to do something that's completely within what you've done before, but it's just fun. And it's just something that, you might want to do it with a friend, and hey, it's a nice day out. So, all things to consider, really. Western Victoria Railway says, well, as I said before, the Portland line is well overdue for a rail tour. There hasn't been one there for almost 20 years now. Yes, and the Portland line is feeling a bit forgotten at the moment, having not seen a train in about a year, so I wish all the best for Portland. I'll continue to travel on heritage tours because they're just so much fun in the end. You don't really know how much fun they are until you've been on one. I've even had people who aren't really rail fans as such travel on some tours with me in the past, and they've gone, yeah, that's fun. I won't do one every time you go, but every couple that you do, and I'll join you. I think that Electrail will ever run Hitachis? Maybe one day. It's a long way off though. that's a discussion for another day. Have I ever been on the Ballerine Railway? I have not, but it is on my list. Like the Daylesford Railway, there's a lot to be seen, a lot of good stuff on that line. I'll get there one day. Anyway, we've just ticked over an hour. We've got 7 people still watching. That's impressive. This has been my most successful live stream in a while. Look, until further notice, I'll keep the live streams every 2 weeks from now. I know I did one week ago, but yeah, I think every 2 weeks for now. And yeah, if unless anyone else has any questions, then I think we'll call it a night. We'll leave his 2 week reminder on his phone. Yeah, that's good. I guess I'll quickly, just while I think of it, what was my favourite tour of all time? That's a hard one. It's a real hard one. I think I want to say the original Greenlander. That was a really great tour. But there's too many to compare. There's so many good ones. Okay. I think I'm going to call it a night right here. So thanks for the participation, everyone. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, hopefully. And I think my Instagram poll about reminding people on Instagram, that's still good. So I'll continue to remind people on Instagram on the day. But yeah, 9 p.m. in 2 weeks' time. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.